and welcome to Bless Your Heart. I'm Heather.
And I'm Carlyle. And today we're going to be talking about my trip to Biltmore, all the things that we've learned about the area, weather modification, and how it all ties to a mud flood in the 1800s. So bless your heart and buckle up. And also, I feel like we've both come a long way in our setups. We have microphones, we have headphones, we have a lighting set up. So, like, are we on our way to being top charting podcasters?
I think we're going to be the badass of them all.
I think so. It's a man's world, but we're gonna play in it. And I love that.
It's becoming a woman's world. The woman energy is finally rising, or the female energy is finally rising.
I think it is. I've heard a lot that like we're moving into an age of like the feminine energy and how the next round of everything that we go through is going to be led by a lot of female leaders. So, here's to hoping that maybe we're one of them. Or maybe we should manifest that we will be one of them.
We will be one of them.
We will be one of them.
We're on our way.
I've been learning so much about podcasting and whatnot because it's also funny because we're podcasting because we're going to do the audio. But now since we're in 2025, you have to have the video component. So not quite sure if it's like full podcast, but we're going to podcast, video it, short script it, whatever we need to do to get the story out there. So Heather, what have you been up to? You've had a lot of life changes since we last spoke.
A lot of life changes, changing jobs, as well as start this podcast. So I'm excited, but I'm ready. Get back into on the road, be selling candy.
Oh, you're going to have to bring me some candy.
Yep. Bring back all the samples. I remember back in the days where I used to have so many samples.
Yeah.
So hopefully I'll have samples again.
Heather worked for a company and we said she drove the candy van. And anytime Heather was coming to town, it was like the candy van was coming and we just had like stacks of all the latest samples. And it was like so wonderful.
Yes. But now we haven't had to worry about that too much. So we've been I don't want to say weight loss, but
yeah, our priorities are definitely
not having all the creepy samples.
Yeah.
I'm sure your nephew is
yeah, he'll benefit.
Saved. Yeah.
But
I want to hear about your trip to Asheville and the Biltmore.
Yes. Okay. So my mom and I went to Biltmore. It's like such a near and dear place to me. I love it so much. Been, every year, my whole life, multiple times. Like when we were little, we had season passes, and I actually like re-upped my season pass this year because I'm like, I'm gonna go and see what Biltmore has to offer. It's so beautiful. Just go walk around. So I went back with my mom and I went in with a whole new lens. I went in with the lens of, is George Vanderbilt a vampire? My mom was floored. She is not into conspiracy. She was like, I do not want to see the world in this way. I like my glass half full. Look at the Gilded Age. It's this beautiful, wonderful time. I look at it and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. You cannot either. We have really gone really far backwards as a society, or there's like something else going on here. They're like, oh, they didn't have the modern technology that we have. Maybe they didn't have TVs and computers, but from the looks of it, they had everything else that we had, and probably better quality, right? It's like this house is so immaculately maintained. What's funny, I've never noticed this. I went in the morning and I don't know if like the budget's tight or something, but they had people like cleaning every room while we were there. So that was like a little weird. But I was like, can't do that before the hours of 10 to 5.
Yeah. I'm surprised you had all the video footage because at Christmas time, they were always so strict about, don't take any pictures. It's going to mess up everything. I don't know if that was true or not, but
so they used to, you could not. There was no photography for the longest time. So like really it was this like hidden treasure because like you just had your memories. Now you can take pictures of it. Everyone's taking pictures. You just can't use flash photography. But so we went in from the outside. I was like, Mom, George Vanderbilt might be a vampire. And she was like, oh, Lord, not this. Please do not do this to me. It's fun. I'm just here like I'm like, you don't have to look into this, but like, this is the lens that I'm looking at. Like, I heard this rumor that George might be a vampire, and all of these things are adding up. Like, his daughter, her changing her name and running away from like this estate, like, something doesn't get. So
Right.
we're outside, we're waiting to go in, and we go and just browse around. And we walk up to the bookstore, and there's this portrait of George Vanderbilt. And I said to my mom, now, mom, I am not trying to skew your perception, but if there ever was going to be a vampire, does this man up here in this portrait not fit the perfect, like, to a T? He was like small, he was pale, he's a little bit reclusey, total vampire vibes. So we go into the house. First thing that I notice, everything is very dark except for like the main guest areas. So where like the guests entertain, there's a lot of light. You got the breakfast room, you got all of that area. There's a lot of light. But like where George enters the house, he would probably enter on the bachelor wing. The whole staircase is enclosed. It's dark. It's spooky. It's just like, I don't know why, if I'm building the largest house in America, that is going to be
Right.
the staircase that I'm using every day, but to each their own. So we walk into the breakfast room and I'm like, Mom, what direction are we facing? I was like, this is so crazy. But like, so they go in and you have this little thing where you let's put it up to your foot, like your ear, like a phone, and it tells you about the rooms you're in. And they talk about how the shades are purposely closed to preserve the room. But I'm like, I don't even think that this room would get good light.
That's such BS.
I'm like, I don't even think that this room would get good light. So my mom, we pulled out the compass because she's a realtor. So she's familiar with the compass and her phone. And sure enough, we're facing west. George Vanderbilt building a west facing breakfast room that does not get eastern light was either a flex because he had so much money that he didn't care. And he was like, I got modern electricity, or it was because he did not want to be in the light. What do you think?
That makes a lot of sense to me.
It's so
I mean,
crazy.
God, I didn't even realize that all the times that I was there. Wow.
I know, it's
Think
like when you
about
go in with a different lens, it continues. It's
yeah.
gonna like keep adding up. So then the big veranda, it's facing west. That's cool. Sweeping mountain views. But that is like the big veranda for the guests. The only guest bedroom that has a balcony is what they think is Cornelia's bedroom, the daughter of George Vanderbilt. So there's only one guest bedroom in the whole house that has a balcony. That one bedroom is also the only room with heating, which is like super weird. So maybe it was Cornelia's. Maybe if he was a vampire, it was where he kept his familiar, his human slave. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be mad if I was his familiar. It'd be like a pretty good pad.
Man.
But why only have one bedroom with a balcony? Like his room doesn't have a balcony.
All those bedrooms.
Uh, his wife's bedroom didn't have a balcony. And then it just like keeps adding up. So on the plans, Cornelia, the daughter, there's never any record of her bedroom. It does not say what that guest bedroom was. So that's
No
weird.
way.
You
That's
go to
very weird.
you go to his library. George was self-taught. He did not go to college or anything, but he read 81 books a year on average.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And every time that he talked to someone like professional, they would always remark on like how much he knew. He was notoriously known as being a man who didn't say a lot. Like he rarely spoke. He didn't go out in public a lot. He didn't even really like entertain his guests a lot. But when he spoke to people in the professional fields, he was always like an encyclopedia of knowledge. So that itself is like crazy. Maybe he just also had a lot longer to learn these things.
Yeah. Because he's been around for hundreds of years.
And then it's just like this collection. Why does one man need this vast collection of books? It's so, I mean, I'm sure it's, again, a wealth flex. Also could be like, does he need a lifetime of reading? Like this house is so immaculately kept up. How great of a cover would it be to be a vampire, to have your house kept up? People pay to come see it during the day. And then at night you get your house back. I know I said that before, but it's so wild. Like his bedroom is perfectly maintained. Everything is like a time capsule. Like he doesn't have to worry about time changing. It can be nostalgic. So then you go in all of these rooms. It's crazy. I was listening when I went through the guest rooms to the little recording, and it was like notoriously the guest logs, they're kind of vague. They don't say a lot. but most of the people that are recorded visiting were women. So like his guest book was like women of like available women, like artistic women, creative women, but he would always have women stay at the house more than male guests, which it's like, so what's the story? And there's not a lot of information.
Yeah.
I try to look up the guest logs and I try to look up some of these women, but like Chat GPT could only like speculate on what happened to them. But most of them, there's not a lot of record of them after attending Biltmore. So, you know, maybe they were driven mad, maybe they disappeared from society. Like, we don't know.
Maybe they brought them in to, like, do their rituals, you know, because they have all these tunnels and stuff that connect all those other mansions and castles around there. Maybe they would bring them in and then, I don't know, like, use them for those rituals or either just funnel them to another section. That's crazy.
I know. So like you could talk about the two other castles that you found in the area that were connected. And those two families, right, they were connected to Freemasons and secret
Yes, they were
societies.
Freemasons.
George was
Yep.
only like tangentially, he just hung out in circles with people in secret societies. It was never noted that
Right.
he was a secret society man, but I think like when you're in secret societies, you're only supposed to hang out with other people in secret societies.
Right.
So, you know, why do you need 35 bedrooms, George? You don't even like
Yeah.
people. He didn't even
Yeah.
like people.
You don't even like people. But they even said that, like, the Freemason, lodge had tunnels underneath it, and there was a local, like, in our time that tried to that I think he found something from where the bowling alley used to be underneath. So I did some research and found a couple other castles, which I had no idea that were there. And one is the Sealy Castle. Have you heard of that or been to it before?
Well, and you can't get to them. They're both like closed.
They
Like,
closed off. So I went on the GPS, you know, where you can kinda see, like, the road and everything, and yeah, you're right. There's, like, the same old vehicles in the parking lot through satellite, and if it's, like, a GPS, there's, like, a truck or a car or something like that. But you're right, you can't even see it from, like, from the road. You can't even get on the main road. So there's William what's his name? No, Fred Seeley. He ran a newspaper, and guess what he was? A Freemason. So he had that castle. Now, there's stories about like how they came about, how they started off in different countries, even doing different things completely. And then over time, they all ship over here, bring their families, find, supposedly build these castles that we all know they just found. And they know they're on these ley lines, which is another thing. So there's ley lines all around the world, and these are where you have vortexes, you have high energy. I mean, there's probably portals there. So it kind of makes sense why all these huge castles, like the Sealy Castle and the Biltmore, and I also found another one that was supposedly built in 1899. We know it was founded in 1899. Zeelandia Castle. Am I saying that right?
Zealandria. I think it's Zealandria.
Zealandria. And the owner for it traveled around the world as well. It was kind of interesting how they all have the same path. They all are these Freemasons, part of the good old boy club, but every one of them have rumors of tunnels and how, you know, one of them was gifted, however you would say, to the college, Biltmore College. And but that was only for a short period of time. Now that all kind of starts to make you wonder, like, did all these people hang out? Well, of course they did. And of course they have tunnels that all connect to each other. They're all that Tartarian type of structure. So they all had their own free energy, which makes sense why they're all on the Lee line. That also kind of makes sense why all of a sudden we're having all these crazy weather storms up in North Carolina where there's crazy hurricanes and flooding that is hasn't happened since, I don't know, the 1800s, where there was a mudslide that completely covered everything. And, you know, this is where we founded all these Tartarian buildings. And, you know, half of the bottom of the first two floors are under mud. And, you know, they could only build or dig out so much out of each one. Now, whether they were told to stop after a certain point or the closer it got to 1900, I'm sure they said, you know, leave it covered. But it's very interesting how they try to hide that and there's no hardly information about it, but yet people are starting to question things. And say, maybe this is another reset. The hurricanes that hit Asheville, how was it, 2 years ago or a year ago?
September will be a year.
A year. And then recently they've had, more rain and stuff. And it's like either they're flooding the tunnels on purpose because there could be other things down there in these tunnels, aliens, possibly, vampires, possibly, or little people even that don't want to be down there. Hopefully they got all those out anyway. But it's very interesting.
Yeah, I go back and forth. Okay, I've done a lot of research on like Biltmore construction because I'm like, okay, they say this mud flood happened in the late. So the theory is that the mud flood happened and it was used to wipe out Tartarian architecture and history. And if you look at just that, like the mud flood around the late 1800s, there were natural disasters in all sorts of areas. I think it was 1916. There was a huge flood in Asheville, about the same size as the damage in Helene. But then we were talking about in 1886, there was an earthquake in Charleston that they had to significantly like rebuild and reshape. Atlanta burned in 1864 and it had to be completely rebuilt. And it was completely rebuilt in between 1870 and 1890. You built the city of Atlanta in 20 years. The timelines are always just so crazy to me. So it like takes me back, like, was the Biltmore some kind of founded structure? But I have seen pictures of like all of the walls going up. But what I've never seen pictures of was like, was the land already graded? Was there possibly a structure already there? Because when George Vanderbilt set out, he set out to build a 6,000 square foot home. Phil was known as this wellness kind of retreat area for the wealthy elite from the Northeast. So they would come down to Asheville to vacation. So that was kind of their thing based on like the ley lines, the vortexes, spiritual. It's always like that whole area has always had like healing properties, which is also like side note. They say there's like 20 vortexes between Black Mountain and Waynesville. So that means that one could possibly run through my property up in the Rice Cove because we run like straight through that line. But anyway, so that's wild. And I always think that that area has special power. Like when I'm up there, it just feels different. Everything feels different. But so do I think that it was built or found? I'm not sure. I know that it was built. Did they have some kind of crazy technology? Possibly. But the whole area, it's like they kept trying to wipe things out. For what reason? What reason? We don't know. Was it to rebuild? Was it for the resources? And was it to hide stuff? Is it good versus evil? We don't know. But there's something weird about that time. I don't believe the Gilded Age for a moment. I don't. Like, you're telling me that the architect of the Biltmore House in that same time period built the pedestal for Central Park, or the pedestal for the Statue of Liberty. The guy who did the landscape architect built Central Park. And then the guy who was the architect also, I believe, built like the MoMA, and he was like the architect to everyone in the Upper West Side. So it's like, how is this guy doing so much stuff all at the same time? Like, it's not like today where you can just like hop on your private jet. Yeah. It's so crazy. And then it's like, so there's something dark. You go into the basement. We talked about the tunnels. The pool does not make sense. On the recording now, the recording says they always are changing the recordings too, which I love. Like you get a new history kind of lesson when you go in there. And this time,
what's the story on the pool?
The pool was like, it wasn't known in the records to be used for like recreation, like to have like fun pool parties. What it was known for was its healing properties. So people would use pools more as like therapeutic systems while they were healing. So that would go to like people with respiratory illnesses coming to Biltmore to get away. But it's like the whole room, it's just vibing, rituals and secret energy. Maybe the water had secret healing powers. Like, who knows? There was something weird going on in that room. The whole basement just doesn't make sense. You have the Halloween room that like someone randomly painted the walls. And then the tour kind of ends going up the stairwell that I spoke about at the beginning, which takes you back out to like the hunting room and like the bachelor's wing. But I did an architecture tour one time in 2016, sometime around there, 2016, 2017. And I did the behind the scenes architecture tour, and they took us to George Vanderbilt's secret office. And it was at the top of the staircase of the bachelor wing. Why in this grand opulent house would the master of the house have this hidden kind of like it's like a turret, it like looks over the whole thing and you can access the roof from there, from his little office.
The Empire needs that.
Yeah, but it's at the top of this dark, spooky staircase. And you cannot allow to take pictures in that room, which is crazy. I did find one picture that some guy like randomly snapped, so it's not a great picture, but I will put it up. But they don't even really talk about that. So it's like the mystery of Biltmore, it's like never ending. I'm like, I want to pitch to Biltmore that I need to host a just like conspiracy tour of all of the myths of the Biltmore.
Yes.
I think that it would sell out because I left with more questions than anything. And I'm more convinced than not that George was a vampire or is a vampire. Maybe they don't live forever, but maybe like I've heard people say that they live a long time and they age very slowly. So, you know, maybe him and
Patricia.
Yes.
I wonder if he invited Patricia to his house before. How funny would that be if we found a picture of Patricia from back in the like early 1900s?
It is so weird. This big grand house has like no pictures and so much mystery. If I had that house, I would have a photographer on staff. Tony was so into his technology. Like you can't tell me that he wouldn't have been like, oh, I can get a picture every day. I can get a picture every day. I have that a bit.
Phone, like a cell phone back then too.
He was a time traveler. He came here in 2025. He's like,
well, apparently there were cell phones back then. Oh. They had the technology for it.
Yeah, and I saw that random picture in Canton, North Carolina, because we went and picked up, there's this little restaurant called like Southern Porch in Canton, and it's this old Imperial hotel. And it was the first hotel in all of North Carolina to have electricity. But I did find out that it had electricity from the mill. So there's no conspiracy there. But it does have the random turrets and the wires at the top that would have been used for free power. And it just doesn't make sense that that random house was like one of the first houses built in Canton. It's like, it just doesn't fit. But then I think I sent you the picture of the random, it was like a wagon, but instead of having the ox in front pulling it, the ox was behind. And then the person riding the ox looked awfully like a time traveler, like had on sunglasses, which I don't even think were invented at that point. So it's just all crazy, but it all leads to the journey and our discussion on weather modification.
Yes. And how they tried to hide all the technology and the Tartarian buildings and all that, how they tried to I think they completely tried to reset us. We got too smart and they said, what can we do? We use natural disasters because nobody can question a natural disaster. And it being hurricane season, you know, we're in South Carolina. We have them quite often. Every year's like the big year, they keep saying. But, you know, the more Carlyle and I watch the patterns and people, that's all they do, right? They're on TikTok or YouTube, and that's all they do is they watch the weather and they watch it, you know, it brew and it start up in the seas. And some of even I'm like, that doesn't look natural to me. You can tell like it's being messed with, it's being amplified out in the ocean. Or, you know, it's our 5G towers that they tell us they are, and they're either like putting off a satellite to make the storm move a certain way, or even make it more powerful, or all the above. But I am concerned that they are going to use another hurricane, especially for our area. I mean, we've had it pretty quiet for a while. Like Hurricane Hugo was probably the last one that they did. Earthquakes, Charleston is on like the main earthquake, what do you call it? Line. It's not a lee line. What is it called?
Fault line.
Fault line. I mean, we are like on a major one. Somerville had a small hurricane the other day, but you know, we want to have small mini earthquakes all the time because that kind of helps prevent from a larger one, supposedly. But what do you think?
Well, it's so weird. So, like, I have done a lot of research on weather modification and all the hurricanes and everything ever since Hurricane Helene happened. My hometown in Greenville, South Carolina, we were very unprepared for it. Like, I was supposed to go see a show that it must have been a Thursday night because Friday we were coming to Charleston. I was supposed to go see a show at like our concert center that Thursday night, and they canceled it. And I remember being like, for a little bit of rain, like this is crazy. And so like we went to bed like, oh, tropical storm warning, no big deal. Woke up at 7 a.m. and like I have a lot of woods around my house, and it was just like snap, snap, boom, boom, boom. It was absolutely crazy. My husband like got up when the sun was out to like go see what was happening. And like to the right of our house, there were like 50 trees down. To the left of our house, the bridge was washed out. And then we were coming to see you, so we were still determined to get out. So we still left. And from Greenville through Columbia, there wasn't an exit with power. It was so bizarre. And no one really knew, like no one knew what was happening. But my family is from Clyde and Canton, North Carolina, and they were hit. Like they got like the brunt of it. Not as bad as like Swannanoa and that area. I mean, complete devastation. Where my aunt lives, her house is like the only house on the street. Several of the people I've seen are starting to lift their houses up and rebuild. It's crazy. So I've done a lot of research. Back in 1916, there was a huge flood that affected the area. Fast forward, I'm sure there were some floods in there, but 2004, there was Hurricane Francis and Hurricane Ivan that caused major flooding in that same region too. And it was the same kind of thing where a storm just stalled and stayed. And people were like, it just doesn't make sense. It was caused due to heavy rainfall. I think it took out I think half of the homes along the water were taken away. Now, fast forward to this time, 80% at least of the houses have been condemned. They're not allowed to rebuild back. Now, I don't know what they'll do with all of that land, but like I said, my aunt's house was like one of the only ones that survived. It's the house my dad grew up in. We're fixing it up. So we've been up there every week since last September. So there was a flood in 2004. My grandparents helped clean all of that up. But it's like, was that weather modification back then? It's just like weird. I'm very sure that Hurricane Helene, they did something. It wasn't supposed to go in the direction it went in. It wasn't supposed to stay where it stayed for as long as it did. And it surely was not supposed to, have the impact as far inland as it did. It was like a hurricane category 5 in the mountains.
Yeah. And it was supposed to be a tropical storm.
Like it was
unheard of.
And then it like leads you to, there were all of the rumors then, right, about the lithium in nearby towns. Now, I believe it's Kings Mountain, which is closer to Charlotte, but maybe weather modification isn't perfect and they didn't hit the right area perfectly. We don't know. We don't know if it's for natural resources. Are they trying to get what's under the land? Are they trying to just get the land to redevelop the land? Like, what is the play? Make a smart city? We don't know what it is. But then it's like when you start connecting the dots and you look at what just happened in LA with the fires, how they're taking all of the homes and they're making them low income housing. And Gavin Newsom is benefiting with his charities from all of that. And then you look at what happened in Texas and they had cloud seeding to the north and to the south the 2 days before, but no, it couldn't have been that. And then, oh wait, don't mention the aquifer that has all of the lithium, that has 9 times the amount of lithium that we need in America to power electric cars. So you have that. And then they just changed the legislation in January that oil companies now, that wastewater, which is what you need to get the lithium up, wastewater used to be owned by the landowners. Now it is owned as a mineral right. And so that is now can go to the oil companies. That went into effect the beginning of July, and then the hurricane hit. And then let me tell you, this aquifer runs from the top of the state where all of this lithium is said to exist and runs into Kirk County, Texas, where all of the flooding happened. And they have their aquifer is only like 100 feet deep or something. So it's considered a very shallow aquifer. But really, they need to flood the aquifer to get the wastewater up to get the lithium, which is like so crazy. And they say it could take like hundreds of years to do that. So they need flooding to keep happening to fill up these aquifers and flood the aquifers so that they can get to the lithium. It's really twisted. And then
that is twisted.
And then you have billionaires like Peter Thiel. Like, is he a bad guy or is he just a very misunderstood billionaire? Because like he funded the weather modification guy, Rainmaker. He funded him. Then he also is funding these companies that are looking into lithium. He also has funded the companies that are like, it's just, he has said himself that he's not sure he wants humans to exist. So like Sure, maybe it was like misinterpreted. Yeah, do I think that like there's a lot of bad people in the world?
Yeah. People like control.
People like control. It's like so I struggle with like, is he a bad guy or is he misunderstood and just trying to solve all the world's problems so that we don't kill ourselves, which we're on schedule to do because we are animals and can't seem to manage our resources and not trash the planet on our own. So, maybe we need someone like him.
Yeah. Or maybe it's the people that rule us confuse the shit out of us and make us think we're doing good when we're doing bad. When we're doing bad, we're doing good. And it's
Yes.
crazy to think. But yeah, I mean, like Bill Gates pushing the whole like, "Oh, you gotta get the COVID vaccine or you're gonna die from COVID." It's like,
You're
well, those
killing
people
all the
died during
old
20.
people.
Yeah, you're killing all the old people. Well, y'all wouldn't have put them all in the nursing home together.
What's
Anyway,
worse, the old people dying by themselves or me not getting a jab that doesn't actually affect those people? Like, I will go to
at
that.
all. Yeah.
Listen, I got the COVID jab because the first round, because I had several family members going through like health crisis. Did I think it was something that I should do? No. Did I think that then like maybe the benefits were like not that dangerous or like the cons were like not that dangerous that I could do it and just appease people like the flu shot? Yes. But I'm not gonna lie, like I have such trouble getting over illnesses now. And like I feel like my viral, like the way that my body handles viruses is so messed up now. So like we can go into all of that. Like everyone that I know has some kind of autoimmune issue now. So like
Yeah.
was it
My
due
dad right
to
now.
like the shot or was it due to just people getting COVID? So that's a whole nother rabbit hole that we could go down. On our next episode, I think that we have a lot to talk about, and I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation with you.
Me too. We'll see you guys next time.
See you next time. Bless your heart.
Bless your heart.